Hey guys, TJ Dorian. This is my Mod 5, Understand My Community for J.C. Harmon High School. As far as our customs and traditions, we are a Title I school. We have a huge focus on building relationships because that's something that just from our community and from just kind of what happens around us, the conditions that our kids are coming from when they come to school, that's a big thing that they're lacking outside of school. So we make sure that that's a huge focus for us. When we opened in the 73-74 school year, we were an open concept building, and it is difficult. Back in the late 80s, I believe, they went in and renovated everything and built walls where there traditionally weren't between classrooms. So now to get through to one classroom, you actually have to walk through another, and it's essentially like a giant honeycomb. And it's very unique, and it's very different, and it's very difficult at times as a teacher to be working in that type of an atmosphere, just because for kids to go to the bathroom, they have to go through the neighboring classroom, and it's just it's very unique, and given the chance, I would suggest that they don't do it, but it's just kind of the world that we live in. Most of our school is Hispanic. A very high immigrant population that has came over, that are a lot of first-generation kids, mostly speaking Spanish at home. We have a lot of African immigrants coming in. Our Middle Eastern immigrants, specifically, from Iraq, are growing. And just kind of with that, our ELL population is about half of our school, 44% to half of our school. And it makes our instruction have to be different. Just the vocabulary that we use, the way that we present lessons as teachers has to be different due to where a majority of our students are coming from. Also with that, soccer is the thing. It's the number one sport in the world, and it is no different being at Harmon. It is the king. It is the sport. It is kind of what we do there. And at the end here, this is just kind of my quote about when people ask me about Harmon. Oh, what's it like, to work there? What are the kids like? I always say, we have a bunch of really great kids. A lot of them just aren't very good students, but they're very respectful, very caring, very loving kids. And when you get to know them, and when they get to know you, more importantly, they really respond. Just a lot of times, academics isn't a lot of their focus, unfortunately. In terms of our population characteristics, this is kind of our school, along with our county demographics. Our overall rate of people who have a high school diploma is only at 19.3%. That's countywide. Based on just kind of my knowledge of the county, I would assume that our specific data, if we were to poll our parents, I would assume that it would be lower than that, actually, which explains some of the apathy that we have when we speak with parents at times, and some of the apathy that we get from the students at times, because if mom and dad made it just fine without going to high school, and they can support you and your 3 or 4 or 5 brothers and sisters, then you don't see a lot of the value in it that maybe a suburban family might see. 14.4%, so about 14.5% of our population in Wyandotte County is foreign born. That astounded me when I actually looked that up. I knew that we had a sizable population that came from outside of the United States, but that was really high. Very much unexpected, but as I kind of reflect upon our building and what happens there, and just kind of the different languages that we have there that really kind of stands out, and it makes sense. Just kind of skipping down to the bottom there, the lowest life expectancy in Kansas. That is due to a myriad of factors. It is due to healthcare. It is due to education. It is due to crime rate. There's a lot of different factors that go into that. And then, literally right next door in Johnson County, they have, I believe it's 83 was the low end of their life expectancy, 83 to 88, I believe, something like that. So slightly demoralizing, I guess. And also being the fact that I also live in the county, it really is troubling to see that even just crossing across county line changes that so drastically. And then the very last thing here, underemployment. I have a lot of kids, first generation kids, who talk about back home, back in Mexico or El Salvador or wherever they may be from, that mom was a doctor. I've worked with a lady that works in our front office who she was a biologist working in a lab, and then when they moved up here, she didn't have, essentially, like her credits didn't transfer, her degree didn't transfer, her credentials didn't transfer. So we have a lot of underemployment for our immigrant population, who are very well educated, very intelligent, that are coming into the country that don't get to fulfill that job service for us. People who have a master's degree that are driving a forklift. So we have a very large issue with underemployment within our immigrant population. As far as our communication channels within our district, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all our bases are covered, I guess, in terms of how we can connect with our community. They have a TV station. They have, just about everything that we can do to try to communicate with our students and with our parents and with just anybody in our community, any of our stakeholders. We have it established to get that taken care of. Is it always effective? Not necessarily. Is it always used effectively by the district or by the parents? Absolutely not. But the ability, I guess is what I want to say, the ability is there. Our community groups, just like any other community, we have rec centers, YMCA, Rotary Club, Wyco Parks and Rec. They do a lot for us, just kind of making sure that whether it's a soccer field, whether it's just a park, whether it's a lake or whatever the case may be, that it is relatively up and running and taken care of for the most part as much as we can. Also within our community, we have a lot of opportunities for musical involvement as well as dance. We have a bunch of step teams that they literally travel around the United States, going to different parades and things like that, different competitions to showcase themselves. And it's definitely a sight to behold if you get a chance to check them out. Also, the adult leagues. We have a large group of community members who like to play softball. Like I call it old man league softball. It's really popular around here. Friday and Saturday nights down at talking about the Parks and Rec down at the city park. They're going until 10 or 11 o'clock at night playing old man softball, slow pitch softball. And I'll be talking to my kids in class, and they're talking about Dad's got a game tonight, we're going down there and we're gonna watch him play, and 2 years from now I'm gonna play with him and my uncles. And so it's something that I wouldn't have guessed was that big of a deal, but definitely in our community, especially at Harmon, it is a big deal, and it is just kind of one of the things that we do outside of school, I guess. Our church groups, we got a lot of churches that help out with us, help provide meals for sports, help provide just guidance for the kids. Come in and kind of starting not necessarily youth groups, but that type of a group to help kind of get those young people started in the right direction. And then we're also starting up a PTA this year. It fell off for quite a while, and we're trying to get that back up and running at Harmon. Our leadership, new superintendent this year. That's we're kind of seeing how that goes. That is Dr. Faust up here in the top right-hand corner. Our school board's down there in the bottom left, and then in the middle is Jeff Marcos, and that is my building principal. Patricia Egan's is my academy principal, so we have a school of about 1,300 kids, and she is my direct academy principal, my direct principal over me. And then of all of these, our most important one is Margie Ramirez. She is our IC. She is the motor that keeps the building running, if you will. As far as our community leaders, their characteristics, they are very data-driven. We look at data, I couldn't tell you how much. The problem is that a lot of times our data that we want to look at isn't necessarily acceptable, or accessible, not acceptable, but accessible to us as teachers. We're starting a new online program, a new grade program. It's called Infinite Campus, and it's our first year of it, so it's trying to work out all the kinks, and it's becoming very difficult to do that. So anyway, we look at data the most that we can, or the best that we can. We have a huge focus on those who fall behind, those who are credit deficient, those who are behavior issues a lot of times, and really trying to focus on them and quite literally, in some cases, trying to drag them along so that they can be successful. Diversity is huge in our building. We speak something like 30-something different languages in our district. The signs in my building, whether it's for the bathroom or the library or the office or whatever, they're written in, I believe it's 7 different languages posted outside the doors. And so that's a huge part of our society, of our school community. And it's such a huge part that it's not noticed. It's not made a point of, I guess. It's something that we interact with every day on a daily basis that we don't recognize that we do it all the time, I guess. Also, we're not afraid of change. We're changing stuff left and right and all the time. And a lot of times that leads to instability within our buildings, and a lot of kind of just not knowing kind of what's going to come next. So being not afraid of change is a good thing, except we take it a little bit too far at times, and it actually becomes a hindrance at times. But all these people, they're all easily accessible, whether it's through email within the building. Everybody's relatively visible, throughout the day, unless they just happen to be out of the building that one specific day. But for the most part, doors always open. You can always talk to them and grab them in the hallway or whatever the case may be. For the most part, everybody we all get along very well. So makes it really easy to talk to people within the building. Now, at the district level, they are clear across town because we have 5 different high schools and they try to be as central as possible. So at the district level, there's kind of that separation, just because they're not in the building. Economic conditions. We are a low SES school, like I said, Title I school, and we did pass a bond 2 years ago, I believe, to help kind of get some renovations going that our buildings needed, rebuilding some elementary schools, focused on elementary schools first, and just kind of trying to get ready for that next wave of kids that's coming in because our population is growing significantly, very quickly. We have an increased budget from last year where we get our funding from the state, and that bounced up, so that's good for us. But in terms of extracurriculars, we have to fundraise our budget for those programs, for sports, for clubs and things like that. There pretty much is no budget. As a football coach, we get about $300 or $400, and that pays for our footballs. That's kind of it. Footballs and mouthpieces. That's about it. And so we have to fundraise a lot, and within our community, that's difficult just because we are in such a low SES area. And then we do partner with outside agencies, whether it's KU Gear Up or whatever the case may be. And we'll talk about that when we get to the next video.